Welcome to a new Bitcoin Books video. Ever found yourself wondering what really makes Bitcoin tick? Under the hood? We're going to go way beyond the price charts and dive right into the code of money itself. And our guide for this journey? It's the amazing Mastering Bitcoin, 3rd edition. In this explainer, we're going to visually break down the most important ideas from this incredible book. So, what's on the menu? First up, we'll get into the fundamental problem Bitcoin was actually designed to solve. Then, we'll follow the life of a single payment from the moment it's created to its final destination. After that, we'll unpack the unstoppable global ledger, the blockchain that makes it all possible. We'll also see that Bitcoin isn't static, it's always evolving. And finally, we'll wrap up by looking at what this all means for you and for truly owning your own money. All right, let's dive right in with the big why. What was the actual problem Bitcoin was trying to fix? Well, it all comes down to one really powerful idea: trust. You see, for pretty much all of modern history, our financial system has relied on trusting other people, banks, governments, to sit in the middle of everything we do. Bitcoin just flipped that entire model on its head. It asks this really revolutionary question. What if we could replace our trust in these big institutions with trust in pure, cold, hard math? And that's the whole game. It's a system where any two people, anywhere in the world, can send value directly to each other, peer-to-peer, with the certainty coming from cryptography, not from some middleman. Okay, so this peer-to-peer trust sounds cool, but how does it actually play out in the real world? Let's make it practical and just follow a simple payment from person A to person B, using the book's classic example of Alice and Bob. So here it is, the entire life of a Bitcoin transaction in just 4 steps. It all kicks off with Alice. She creates a wallet, and that wallet gives her a super secret private key. Now this key is everything. It's what gives her control over her funds. When she wants to pay Bob, her wallet software builds a transaction and then uses her private key to digitally sign it. Think of this like a unique, unforgeable signature that proves she authorized the payment. Once it's signed, that transaction gets broadcast out to the entire network of computers running Bitcoin. And finally, these participants, we call miners, grab it, bundle it into a new block, and lock it into the blockchain's permanent history. And just like that, it's confirmed. We just mentioned that this transaction gets locked into a global ledger that makes it secure and unstoppable. Well, what is that? That, of course, is the blockchain. At its core, the blockchain is basically a public record book. You can think of it like a global spreadsheet that absolutely anyone can look at. But here's the real magic. It's distributed. That means thousands of identical copies of this ledger are held on computers all over the world. This decentralization is what makes it so powerful. There's no single person, no company, no government that can go in and change the past, shut the network down, or stop your transaction from going through. And this is where the chain part of blockchain comes from. Every new block that's created doesn't just hold new transactions, it also contains a unique cryptographic fingerprint, a hash, of the block that came directly before it. It's kind of like a digital wax seal. It links them all together in an unbreakable chronological chain. So if you wanted to go back and change just one tiny detail in an old block, you'd break that seal. And that would break the seal on every single block that came after it, creating a cascade of invalid blocks. The amount of computer power you'd need to do that and then rebuild the entire chain is just staggering, which is what makes the history essentially tamper-proof. So the big question is, who gets to add the next block to this chain? Well, that's the job of miners, and they do it through a process called proof of work. It's basically this massive global competition. Miners are all using incredible amounts of computing power to be the first one to solve a really difficult math puzzle. The winner gets the right to add the next block of transactions to the chain, and for their effort, they get rewarded with newly created Bitcoin. This intense competition is the very engine of Bitcoin's security. It's what makes cheating the system so incredibly expensive, and it's how a totally decentralized network agrees on what the one true history of transactions is, all without needing a boss. Now, it's really easy to think of Bitcoin as this thing that was just invented back in 2008 and hasn't changed since. But honestly, that couldn't be further from the truth. It's actually a living, breathing protocol that's constantly being upgraded by a worldwide community of developers to make it more efficient, more private, and more powerful. And a really cool way to see this evolution in action is to just look at the Bitcoin addresses themselves. They've changed over the years, and each new format brought powerful new features to the table. We started with the original addresses that begin with a 1. Then we got 3 addresses, which opened the door for more complex things like multi-signature security. After that came SegWit addresses, which start with BC1Q, and they made transactions smaller, which means cheaper fees for everyone. And the latest big upgrade, Taproot, has brought huge improvements to privacy and smart contract potential, making the network more capable than it's ever been. Taproot is a seriously massive leap forward, and its real genius is how simple it appears on the outside. What it does is it makes really complex transactions, like, say, a smart contract or a payment that needs multiple people to sign off on it, look exactly the same as a simple, everyday payment on the blockchain. So why is that a big deal? Well, it's huge for privacy. When all the transactions look alike, it becomes way harder for anyone analyzing the blockchain to figure out exactly what people are doing. It basically makes better privacy the default for everyone on the network. Okay, let's bring all this amazing tech back down to earth, back to you, the user. With all this complexity working in the background, what does it ultimately empower you to do? This quote from the book just nails the absolute heart of Bitcoin. In your bank account, you're asking for permission to use your money. With Bitcoin, it's completely different. If you possess the private key, you own the Bitcoin, period. There's no one in between. If you have the key, you and you alone have absolute final control over your funds. That is a massive, profound shift toward what you could call true digital property rights. Now, for anyone who wants to achieve the highest possible level of financial sovereignty, the book points to running your own node as the absolute gold standard. A node is your own personal window into the Bitcoin network. By running one, you're not trusting anyone else's computer to tell you the truth. You're verifying every single transaction and every single rule for yourself. This gives you just unparalleled security and privacy. And as a bonus, by participating, you're actually helping to keep the whole network decentralized and strong for everyone. And the innovation doesn't stop there. On the main blockchain, you can think of the Bitcoin blockchain as this incredibly secure foundation, like the bedrock of the internet. But now, new layers are being built on top of it for things like speed and massive scale. The most famous one is the Lightning Network, which allows for millions of instant, incredibly low-cost payments. It uses the super secure base layer for final settlement, giving Bitcoin the power to scale up for everyday global payments. You know, we have barely scratched the surface of the incredible depth you'll find in mastering Bitcoin. But it really does leave us with this one powerful final question to think about. By replacing trust in institutions with verifiable mathematical proof, is Bitcoin just another kind of money? Or is it something much bigger, a whole new foundation for how we establish trust in a digital world? It's definitely a question worth thinking about. For those who want to learn more, the link to get the book is available in the video description. If you found this content interesting, please subscribe to the channel and like it to help us reach as many people as possible. Thank you.